What's up, guys? Welcome back to see you out there. Welcome back Costa Rica. Welcome back to Tamarindo. It is absolutely stunning out here right now, guys. Incoming tide. I got the morning off. Corey's laying by the pool reading a book. The family's chilling out, enjoying a beautiful day. So I'm gonna get out here and try to catch a fish. If you guys remember last time we were here, we caught some really nice jacks and blue runners. Similar conditions. Right now, as you can tell, tide is all the way out. But we're gonna walk the shore here. We're gonna walk around to Playa Langosta, Punta de San Francisco, down to the south a little bit, and just see if we can find something. We came out with What's up, guys? Welcome back to see you out there. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to talk about a fun topic. We're going to talk about the top 5 lures for surf fishing in Costa Rica. Our Costa Rica videos have done really well. We were just back down there last week surfing and fishing, kind of hanging out. And while I was walking the beach, surf fishing, trying to find some jacks, got me thinking, why not do a top 5 lure video for surf fishing Costa Rica? So that's what we're gonna do today, guys. We're gonna run through the tackle I take down there, and we're gonna run through what I personally think are the 5 best lures for surf fishing Costa Rica. All right, guys, let's get right into it. So Costa Rica is an amazing country with amazing fishing. On the Pacific coast, there is endless opportunities to catch jacks and mackerels and cuberas and snook, rooster fish, all these things from shore, including a lot of other species of snapper around the mangroves, around the river mouths, around the tributaries, and around the rocks around the coast. So there's a lot of opportunity to catch fish from shore. There's a lot of opportunity to catch fish either artificial or on fly. I've had some great luck down there with some lures, and I wanted to share that with you guys today. So one thing to keep in mind when surf fishing Costa Rica is tidal movement. Tidal movement on the Pacific in Costa Rica is giant. You could be anywhere from 6 to 8 feet worth of tide in and out. I find personally that the tide is better closer to the all the way full on the incoming or the first couple hours of the outgoing. With 6-8 foot worth of tides, what will happen is a lot of times your cliffs, your rocks, your structure is completely exposed at low tide, and it gets hotter when the midday comes up, and a lot of your bait fish, your predatory fish will move back out off the coast into deeper water. So what I find is to fish closer to full tide as you can. All those volcanic rocks are covered. The coast is all the way full of water. The bait, everything's moving in out of the deeper water to feed and to get its dine on. So closer to full tide, and then the first couple hours of the outgoing, maybe 2 or 3 hours of outgoing, guys. That's when these lures are gonna do you best. Now this is from my experience. I'm sure there's some of you guys out there that are a little more experienced surf fishing Costa Rica than I am. If you are, please feel free to chime in down in the comments. We're all here to help one another. So without further ado, let's get talking about the lures here. We're gonna start on the bottom of the list here. Number 5, favorite lure for surf fishing Costa Rica, and for me personally, that's going to be a topwater. A large hula popper, a wide mouth popper. These lures work amazing down there. Number 1, you're surf fishing and you can chunk these things a country mile. Next to that is just the noise. You can draw predators in from a very, very long ways away in. It seems to me that when the bait's moving down in Costa Rica around the shorelines, there's a lot of commotion. There's a lot of birds. There's a lot of surface activity. You've got a lot of jacks and mackerel exploding the surface. You've got a lot of birds diving. All of that noise draws predatory fish attention. So if you're throwing something like this large Savage gear with this large mouth, the swivel in it, and you're getting a really long cast, let that settle, and then just big, giant, aggressive pops. Those big pops are gonna draw somebody in. Your big cuberas, your big jack, your big rooster fish, your mackerel, your jack crevalle, all of those are gonna come in and find these guys. So a couple I have here, this is a Savage popper. I'm not sure, this one here is a Halco popper. This is a beautiful, it's very popular. I'm sure most of you guys that fish saltwater have heard of Halco poppers. Very durable, they're built to throw a long ways, guys. So these are fantastic for surf fish. Just make sure that you take the adequate size rod to be able to handle these larger lures. I take a 5000 series Penn Battle 3 down there with me and an 8-foot travel rod that's a medium heavy. So I don't throw a lot of stuff this big, but I take it anyway just in case. But one thing I do throw a lot is a pencil popper like this. These pencil poppers, this thing's probably around an ounce. The way it's shaped is like a bullet. You can see that it's smaller to the tied end where you tie it to the leader, and it gets bigger towards the end. You can really chunk this thing a long ways. It's got a cupped mouth on it, so you still get that splash. You can almost simulate working the dog with it, and of course, it's got a lot of beats for noise. Red and white's always a great color. But these are 3 great options for topwater plugs for surf fishing in Costa Rica. I like this Savage gear. Halco is a proven winner. And then obviously the pencil popper is a wonderful lure for a little bit smaller tackle. I throw, when I'm down there, I'm throwing 20-pound braid, like I said, on that 5000 series reel, 8-foot medium heavy travel rod. And I'm tying that to around 30-pound fluorocarbon is typically what I'll throw. I haven't ran into a lot of fish yet personally that I can't stop with that setup. It's going to happen eventually, but it hasn't yet. So number 5, favorite lure, surf fishing in Costa Rica, topwater lures, guys. All right. Number 4, my number 4 favorite lure for surf fishing in Costa Rica is gonna have to be the Bucktail Jig. The Bucktail Jig is a very versatile lure. You guys that saltwater fish United States and all over the world, you guys know this is hard to beat lure. You can slow it down in the deeper water, you can get down to the rocks, you can get down to the ledges, and you can fish a little bit deeper. I find that I can fish this different speeds based on what I'm seeing. If I'm not seeing surface activity, I'm not seeing feeding fish, there's no need to keep it high, and I'm near a steep drop off or a rock ledge or some kind of volcanic structure, then I can let it drop and I can bounce it and fish the snapper and the species of fish that are hugging closer to the structure. And if I see something up top, I can rip it. I can rip it across the top and I can keep it moving fast, and I can entice that jack or that rooster fish or that mackerel. This one is a cool little guy here by Shimano. It's got a little tail on it. Awesome little grub. I like them in a 1/2 ounce to an ounce, somewhere around that 3/4 to 1 ounce range. I find works beautifully. There's a lot of companies that manufacture these. Spro makes them. There's a whole lot of people that make bucktail jigs, and a lot of you guys may tie them yourself. Not a whole lot to tie them, you know, a 1 ounce head with some wrap and a little bit of bucktail there. But bucktail jigs, these things work really good, guys. This is a really versatile lure. The one thing I want to caution you on these is make sure you know the area you're fishing. If you're fishing a heavy rocky area, I wouldn't let this sink to the bottom too much. I would make sure and keep it up off the bottom, which kind of defeats the purpose sometimes for that weight. Get down on those rock ledges and all that volcanic cracks, you can lose these really easily. And it gets frustrating when you start, you know, lopping off $5 lures all the time, guys. So just be mindful if you're fishing these around heavy structure, either have a handful with you when you travel down there, or make sure you understand where you're fishing. If you're fishing a sandy area that's kind of a sandy flat that runs out, no worries. If you're fishing adjacent to some rock piles, you should be just fine. But it's just one thing I wanted to mention to keep in mind when you're throwing these bucktail jigs. Just make sure you're mindful how far you're letting them sink, and don't give them time to get down in that current and get lodged in the rocks, and then you get rocked up and you end up spending all your time tying on new lures, guys. So number 4 lure, my favorite lure, is the bucktail jig. 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce, somewhere in that range, so that I can cast it a long ways. There's a lot of current down in Costa Rica when tides come in and out, so you want to make sure you can defeat that. And I really like these that have a little tail on them. I like a lot of flash. I like a lot of shimmer. It mimics a lot of the blood minnows that you'll see down there along the coast. And I like that extra tail just to entice somebody on the fall. I love the fall. I love a little bit of action on the fall. So typically I'm gonna throw something with a tail on it. A lot of times I'll take my own plastics. I'll take some hooked up baits, paddle tails. I'll take some JRZ lures, or I'll take something like that and I'll add my own on there and modify it. But I really, really do like, on that fall, I like having that action of the tail. To me, it just kind of multiplies the lure's ability. Instead of just a straight dead fall from a bucktail jig, you get a little kick. So number 4 on my list, favorite lures for surf fishing Costa Rica, 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce bucktail jig. Any brand will do you just fine, guys. Thank you. All right, guys. Top lure, number 3, surf fishing Costa Rica. This is a fun bait, and this is probably, I bet the next 2 are probably a lot of you guys' favorite lures, and that's a twitch bait, a suspending twitch bait. This particular one is a Yo-Zuri 3D inshore twitching bait, slow sinking. These lures do an amazing job mimicking real fish. These things are slow sinking, they're almost neutrally buoyant. You could chunk these things a freaking mile too. I like to throw them, I like to let them sit, I like to give them 3 to 5 seconds depending on depth of water, say a foot per second sink, or probably a little slower than that. And then I like to give them a couple really good rips. I like to give them some aggressive rips, let them sit, let them sink 3, 4, 5, rip, 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 rip. 3, 4, 5, rip, 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 rip. That's kind of how I like to do it. That's the cadence you'll see me working them at. Twitch baits are amazing search baits. It doesn't take a long time to throw them out and bring them in. You know, your bucktail jig, you're kind of working a little more methodically, that number 4. To me, a twitch bait is a search bait. And if I'm surf fishing Costa Rica and I'm not fishing a single point, there's a lot of casts involved, and I don't want each cast to take 45 minutes because you throw that thing out there 100 yards. I want to search areas fast. A lot of our predators down there are fast movers, they're aggressive fish. A fast moving bait's not going to turn them off. The flash, the sound, the movement's what's got them coming in there. So for me, a slow sinking twitch bait of any size, honestly, I picked this size just because of the jacks and the rooster fish I see down there, and some of the large cubera you'll see. They're big fish, they're aggressive. If I'm gonna take all this gear down to Costa Rica to fish, I want a chance at a fish of a lifetime. So a lot of times if I'm gonna fish a twitch bait, I'm gonna fish something a little bit on the larger size. Again, I'm throwing, you know, 20-pound mainline, 30-pound fluorocarbon. So this would be on the upper end of what I would throw. Typically I'd throw something around that ounce, 3/4 ounce to an ounce. Again, modify your cadence. You throw this thing 15 or 20 times, you know fish are in the area, modify your cadence, speed it up, slow it down, try different cadences. Don't get stuck in one way of retrieving these twitch baits. They will work great as search baits. They've got the beads, they'll bring the fish in. If there's a large school of bait getting crashed, match to hatch on these guys, throw it in the middle of it. A couple good twitches, make it look injured, let it lay over and sink real slow. A jack is gonna hammer these twitch baits, guys. So again, this is a Yo-Zuri brand, this is a 3D inshore. There are some fantastic ones out there. Shimano makes some great ones. We all know of these great twitch bait companies. So whoever your favorite is, but look for something slow sinking. Look for something that mimics a fish that has a lot of flash, a lot of shine. When that sun's high in Costa Rica, all that shimmer and all that prism in there, you're gonna throw off a lot of reflection and you're gonna draw those fish in even better, guys. So number 3 on the list is slow sinking twitch baits. All right, number 2 on the list, guys. This one's popular in all forms of fishing. Here in the States, saltwater, freshwater, overseas, everywhere. And this is gonna come as no surprise to you guys. Number 2 is a twitch bait. Along the lines of the last one we talked about our number 3, there's low sinking twitch baits, but these jerk baits. Jerk baits are another great searching bait. These things, they rip and make a lot of noise. This is a great one by Shimano. This is one of my favorites. I was actually throwing this for speckled trout down in Texas, trying to catch that dirty 30. If you guys ever seen that series we did, trying to catch a 30-inch speckled trout. There's a lot of great companies that make it. This is Shimano. Here's a Yo-Zuri jerk bait here. This is perfect size for what I'm throwing down there. There's some off brands that make them too. Guys, a lot of noise, a lot of racket, a lot of flash, a lot of shine. These jerk baits are fantastic. They got a smaller bill like a crankbait. It's basically the same thing as the twitch baits are. Only with these is you can be a little more aggressive with them. With a lipless sorry guys, with a lipless twitch bait, if you get too aggressive with it, a lot of times they'll come out of the water or they'll go lame on you. They'll come up and they'll lay on their side. You have to let them sink to kind of re-engage them. These twitch baits are, these jerk baits are exactly what they're called, jerk baits. They're meant to be aggressively worked. So you can really work these aggressively. That lip's gonna keep it engaged in the water and keep it from breaking loose, kind of like a twitch bait can. These lures cast a long way. They've got a lot of hooks on them. It's hard to miss a fish. They've got a lot of great noise attraction, a lot of great flash, and they're very, very durable. Jerk baits are a wonderful, wonderful option for surf fishing in Costa Rica. They're easy to come by. There's a lot of options, a lot of variations, a lot of colors. They're not overly expensive. You can get these $4, $5, maybe $6 a piece off Amazon. Your local tackle shop probably has a better selection. These are wonderful baits, guys. Jerk baits work wonders. This size to me specifically, I really like this. This is a 110 SP. Snapper will come up and hit this of all sizes, not just the giant cuberas, but your smaller size roosters, your smaller size mackerels and jacks. A lot of blue runners down in Costa Rica. Blue runners will absolutely mash on this thing. They will wear it out. It's not, you know, a giant bait like this. This is a great high production lure if you want to stay on a good bite and catch a lot of fish and a lot of variety. Jerk baits do a wonderful job in Costa Rica, and like I said, they're easy to come by and they're easy to travel with. They don't take up a lot of space. You can cram 30 of these in one tackle tray and chunk it in your carry-on luggage. Then you got all the lures you need when you get down there. Jerk baits are a great way to go, guys. So number 2 on our list is the jerk bait. All right, guys, the moment you've all been waiting for. This is my number 1 favorite lure for surf fishing in Costa Rica. This shouldn't be a surprise to any of you. I'm gonna think that when I pull this up, you guys are gonna go, yeah, makes sense. This lure is easy to work. It's easy to travel with. It's easy to transport. They're cheap. You can get them by the freaking dozens for next to nothing. And they've worked for a million years and they'll always, always work, guys. You ready? The spoon. There is nothing in the world that works better from my experience in Costa Rica than these spoons. Again, I'm a 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce guy. Very basic Castmaster spoons. You can throw them a country mile. They're very inexpensive. You can work them a variation of ways. You can work them slow with some big hops, steady fast retrieve, steady moderate retrieve, steady retrieve with pauses. There's a lot of things you can do. You can search the world over with these things. You can make a million casts, not wear yourself out. There's no difficulty. Sometimes twitch baits will get lame on you, or the hooks will flop back around and they'll hang up on themselves. And there's all these different things, you know, that kind of go wrong when you're dealing with baits with multiple treble hooks, foul hooking weeds and grass. And there's just all this stuff that's part of fishing that we're all accustomed to that are kind of nuisances. They're not game stoppers, or they're not show stoppers. They're not deal breakers, but they can be frustrating. A spoon may foul 1 in every 500 casts. You can throw them a country mile and then you can vary your retrieve. And spoons come in 1,000 different shapes and sizes. You can go up 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces. These big giant guys here, my 20-pound tackle handles that pretty fine. There are some small 1/2 ounce, 1/4 ounce size that are surf lures, but they're built like a butterfly jig with a trailer hook there with a little stinger. You know, a lot of pretty color and flash. You know, you can throw that one a mile. They come in a million different shapes and sizes, guys. And to me, Castmaster is the way to go. I had a bunch that I just down in Costa Rica that were exactly like this, but had some Prism Flash stickers on right here that I threw that worked really, really well. I lost the last one of those while I was down there, so I don't have one to show you, but it's the same Castmaster with the Prism Flash on it. But these lures, they're just simple. They're just easy. You know, you take a normal tray, a tackle tray, and you can honestly put more of these than you'd ever need in it. They take up very little space. Like I said, they're very inexpensive. 20-pound braid, 8-foot rod, and you put a 3/4 ounce Castmaster spoon on a piece of 30-pound fluorocarbon, you can throw this a long, long ways. And Corey and I have had some great luck on jack bites down there. You know, you get the blood minnows pushed up in on high tide, the jacks are crashing them. It seems like for some reason they'll they'll spit blood minnows out to grab that Castmaster spoon and crush it. It's just a really good, solid lure. Hopefully I don't get any hate from you guys on this, that y'all don't think something else in our list here is a little bit better. But to me, as far as production and something that's consistent, is something that I can trust every day, the first thing I'm going to throw on is going to be this spoon. Now if I get out and I find them and I locate them with this search bait and they're not eating it, then I'm going to start running through my lures. Or if something's tricky down on a reef and I can't get a spoon to it, I'm going to go to that Bucktail jig. If I need a little more casting distance, I'm going to go to one of those Halco poppers, one of those Topwaters, or maybe upsize my spoon. But a spoon, guys, it's just easy to travel with. It takes up no room, no space. You can put 15 of these in the slot that it takes to put one of these. You know, I'm gonna still take these, but I'm gonna take a lot more of these with me. So number one lure, in my opinion, for surf fishing Costa Rica, hands down, is gonna be 3/4 ounce to 1 ounce Castmaster spoon, guys. It's just a solid lure. It gets the job done every time. It ain't sexy, it ain't pretty, it ain't fancy, and no one's gonna Google eye over your lure you got tied on while you're fishing. But I guarantee you money, you tie these on, you're gonna hook something, guys. It's just a solid lure. Has been for 100 years and will be for another 100. So number one lure, surf fishing Costa Rica. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Quick little video. I know there wasn't a whole lot to that one, but it was just something I felt I wanted to share, something I thought about while I was down there fishing and I wanted to bring to you guys. So anyway, that's my top 5 lures. What I like to throw when I'm in Costa Rica personally. Picture of my box right here. You guys can see how I've got it packed and what's in there. And that's more lures than I could ever use in a week or 10 days in Costa Rica. It's a beautiful country. It's an amazing place. If you haven't made it down there and fished yet, you need to. I'll put a link in the description to one of our surf fishing videos from last year where we had a really great trip. We actually even gave some fish to local police. So amazing people, amazingly kind people down there. If you catch something you don't want it, there's some locals standby watching. Give it to the Ticos and the Ticas. They'll appreciate it and they'll go home and make a great meal for their family with it. Just an amazing place, guys. If you haven't been down there and it's on your bucket list and you're kind of wavering whether to go or not, pull the trigger and go. Costa Rica is beautiful. You do not need a fishing license down there. Fishing from shore, you don't need any license. There's very little regulation on what you can and can't keep. Just, you know, respect the country, respect the locals, respect the place. If you cut off some monofilament, don't leave it on the beach, put it in your pocket. It's a very gorgeous place. Let's try to help them keep it that way, guys. Anyway, thank you for watching. Appreciate all love and support. Thank you so much for everything. And as usual, we'll see you out there.